Hello students, here I am with another EVS video. In today's video, you will get to know about seedless plants and plants that hunt. Yes, you heard it right. Plants that actually hunt other animals and insects to survive. But first of all, we will know about the seedless plants. Means the plants which does not reproduce through their seeds. They reproduce through other mediums. And what are they? For that you need to see today's video. And there is again a surprise. Means at the end part of the video there is a small animation story about the plants that hunt. They are also known as carnivorous plants, means the plants that eat other animals and insects. Let's start today's video. First, let's talk about the plants without seeds. Not every plant grows from a seed. Some plants like ferns and mosses grow from spores. Other plants use asexual vegetative reproduction and grow new plants from rhizomes or tubers. We can also use techniques like grafting or cutting to make new plants. Now, from this description, what do you understand? Few plants, they do not grow from the seeds. Then how do they grow? They grow from spores. Now you will ask me, what are spores? We will discuss what are spores in the next slide. Now come to the next part, that is asexual vegetative reproduction. There are different types of techniques by which we can reproduce or we can grow plants like grafting, cutting, etc. About these techniques you will learn in your higher classes. And for this class you will get to know what is spores and what are the plants without seeds. Let's come to the next topic, that is spores. In the picture also you can see there are spores on the leaves. They look like this. Spores are the reproductive structure of the lower plants, plants that don't flower. Fungi, algae, and even some bacteria all form spores when they want to pass their genes on. Think of them like seeds. They are made to grow a new plant, and all they need is the proper environment to thrive. Now what are spores? You can see in the picture also. Spores are for the lower plants, the plants which cannot give seeds or they do not have flowers, so they cannot reproduce in that way. They can reproduce and grow other plants through their spores that are usually found in the leaves. Fungi and algae, they also a type of bacteria, they also form spores because if they want to pass on their genes, means if they want to reproduce, they are going to reproduce like this. Think of them like seeds. Spores, suppose they are not seeds, but you can think of them like seeds also. Now the next thing is, what are vascular plants? Now why we are talking about vascular plants, you will get to know. First, let us discuss what are vascular plants. They are plants that have developed specialized tissue called a vascular structure to transport water and nutrients. They are also called the higher plants and include everything from conifer trees to flowering plants to ferns. While some of these grow seeds, such as conifers and flowering plants, some do not, like ferns. The seedless vascular plants are in 4 plant divisions that you may never have heard before, like Xylophyta, Xylophyta, Snacrophyta and Pterophyta. However, you will find that you are familiar with the common names of many of the seedless vascular plants. Now, vascular plants are the plants, means the higher plants, not the smaller one, which do not produce seed. Few vascular plants do not produce seed, few produce seeds. The few plants which does not produce seeds or does not flower are like fern. You have seen them around you. You can see in the picture also there are specified vascular plants which do not produce flower or any fruit, thus they do not produce any seed. So they are vascular plants and they reproduce by the same process that the other lower plants reproduce. Few examples are given in here. You can see there are the scientific names of the plants, and you will find that you are familiar with the common names of the plants which are not scientific names. And you can see around your surrounding also, and let me know in the comment section that how many vascular seedless plant you have found out in your surrounding, and then write down the name in the comments. Seedless vascular plants include ferns, horsetails and club mosses. These types of plants have the same special tissue to move water and food through their stems and foliage like other vascular plants, but they don't produce flowers or seeds. Instead of seeds, seedless vascular plants are reproduced with spores. Again, if you take the lower plants or the higher plants, both seedless plants reproduce with spores. The seedless vascular plants that you can look around and find are ferns, horsetails and club mosses, and they have the same kind of feature that usually other plants have. They have special tissue to move water and food through their stems and foliage. This feature is similar to other seeded plants, means the plants which produce seeds, flowers and fruits. So this feature, like the water and food movement through the stems and foliage, are same in both kinds of plants, but the only difference is they do not reproduce in the same way. They reproduce in different way, one with fruit, flower and seed, and one with spores. So I hope you have understood why we are talking about vascular plants, because few vascular plants are seedless. And again I will ask the students to note down few names of the vascular plants that you can find around your house. Do not go outside, students. Just around your house you look and tell me few plants, the name of few plants which are seedless. Now let's come to the interesting part. Plants which hunt. There are some plants which trap and eat frogs, insects and even mice. The pitcher plant, Nepenthes, is one such plant. It is found in Australia, Indonesia and Meghalaya in India. It has a pitcher-like shape and the mouth is covered by a leaf. The plant has a special smell that attracts insects to it. When the insects land on the mouth of the plant, it gets trapped and cannot get out. What a clever way to hunt! Yes, these plants are carnivorous also. They are also known as carnivorous plants. Why they are carnivorous plants? Because they survive on other insects and plants. not plants, on other insects and animals. Now they hunt the other insects and animals, just like you can see in the picture. When the insect gets inside, it traps the insect, it covers the insect, and then it eats it, and the insect gets dissolved inside its fluid. Carnivorous plants are plants that derive some or most of their nutrients from trapping and consuming animals or protozoans, typically insects and other arthropods. Carnivorous plants have adapted to grow in places where the soil is thin or poor in nutrients, especially nitrogen, such as acidic bogs. You can see in the picture there are different types of carnivorous plants, like plants they hunt. And what they do, they actually trap other insects and animals inside them, and the fluid inside them actually dissolve the insect or animal, and they get the required energy from them. They actually these plants grow in places where the soil is very thin and poor in nutrient. Because they cannot get proper nutrient from the soil, so they grab the nutrients by eating up other insects and animals. Specifically the nitrogen they get from other insects and animals, because it is not that much available in the soil. So like especially such as acidic bogs. So these types of plants usually you can find in the places where the soil is very thin.
From trapping insects, spiders and tadpoles to plants eating shrews and salamanders, here are 13 incredible carnivorous plant species. Number 13. Venus flytrap. This is arguably the best known carnivorous plant on the list, so let's start with it. It's native to the US and is known to have an appetite for insects, which inspired its common name. In addition to flies, it also has a taste for beetles, grasshoppers and spiders. In some cases, they've even trapped frogs. The trapping mechanism is constructed by sections of its leaves. When prey lands on the leaves and touches a hair trigger, the trap begins to close. It takes another contact being triggered within 20 seconds of the first to ensure the fly trap shuts completely. It's an efficient triggering system which ensures the plant wastes no excess energy in capturing suitable prey. Before the prey is digested, another 5 stimuli will make the final judgment regarding its nutritional value. Did you know the Venus flytrap inspired the monster plant in the 1986 film Little Shop of Horrors? Number 12. Dewy pine. Also known as the Portuguese sundew, this species is native to Spain, Portugal and Morocco. They can grow in dry soil, which makes them unique among carnivorous plants. While most sundews can move their leaves, this genus has leaves that coil outward from a central rosette. The leaves can measure up to 16 inches long, 40 centimeters, and are covered with a sticky secretion. Once they've been attracted by the sweet aroma, the secretion immobilizes the prey until they die after struggling to escape. Number 11. Bibli. These small carnivorous plants are native to Western Australia and were first described in the early 19th century. They have a resemblance to the sundews and are distantly related, but this genus is recognized by its 5 curved stamen and symmetrical flowers. The leaves secrete a mucus-like substance, similar to other specimens on the list. When insects land, they're trapped and covered by the adhesive and eventually die of asphyxiation or exhaustion. Not unlike butterworts, this genus has sessile glands that produce substances which aid digestion. Did you know the name Bibli refers to a goddess of Greek mythology? When her heart was broken, she cried glistening tears, and the droplets of this plant are thought to resemble them. Number 10. Bladderworts. There are more than 200 species of these plants, and they're found just about everywhere except Antarctica. They can be terrestrial or aquatic, where they show up in streams and ponds. Their name is a reference to the traps they use, which resemble bladders. They have a sophisticated construction and are connected to sensitive hairs. When prey brushes against the hairs, the trapdoor springs open and sucks in the victim along with any water surrounding it. Terrestrial species have smaller traps that can catch tiny organisms like protozoa. Aquatic species are able to catch larger prey like young tadpoles. For either species, the entire process of triggering the bladder and trapping the prey takes between 10 to 15 milliseconds. Number 9. Brocchinia reducta. Can you imagine a carnivorous pineapple? That's not the case here, but these plants are bromeliads and belong to the same family as pineapples. Experts say they're one of the few carnivorous members of the group and are native to South America. It's adaptable enough to grow in soils that are low in nutrients and to grow on rocks by using its anchors as roots. Tightly overlapping leaves form a cup that stores sweet-smelling water. That serves as a lure for insects like ants. Prey is also attracted by the ultraviolet light that reflects off the waxy leaves. Scales on the leaves are slippery enough that victims can't maintain their footing and will slide into the water and drown. Enzymes and bacteria combine to digest the plant's meal. Number 8. Butterworts. There are around 80 known species of these plants, most of which are found in South and Central America, followed by Europe and North America. Experts say they trap insects as a way to supplement the lack of mineral nutrition found in their environments. Their trap mechanism is comprised of two specialized glands. The first secretes a mucilage that contains digestive enzymes that appears like droplets on the leaf surface. The name butterwort is a reference to those glistening leaves. Insects and other prey are attracted by the droplets, which is a similar strategy to that of sundews. Upon landing, more mucilage is released from reservoirs and covers the prey. That triggers the second glands, called sessile glands. They produce enzymes that further break down the digestive parts of an insect's body. Once that material has been absorbed, only the insect's exoskeleton remains on the leaf surface. Number 7. Water wheel plant. Its common name is a reference to the appearance of its traps. They're arranged in concentric rings around a free-floating stem in the center. Experts say the traps are similar to Venus flytrap and are used to capture small aquatic invertebrates. As soon as the prey approaches, two lobes will enclose the victim when it's near enough in a snap trap. Closing at a rate of 20 milliseconds, it's one of the fastest examples of plant movement ever described. By contrast, a Venus flytrap takes about 100 milliseconds to spring its trap. The water wheel plant is unique for a few other reasons as well. It's an aquatic and rootless species that is widely distributed from Europe and Asia to Africa and Australia. And its populations often coincide with the migratory routes of birds. That's because the plants stick to birds' feet and are transported to aquatic destinations along their route. But experts say that this plant species is becoming increasingly rare and is listed as endangered. Number 6. Sundews. These are among the larger carnivorous plants, with nearly 200 species described so far. They capture and digest their prey by luring them in with their tentacles, which have glands covering the surface. The glands secrete a thick substance called mucilage, which traps the prey. The plant's name stems from the glistening droplets of mucilage that look like drops of morning dew. Some species of this plant have tentacles that can essentially snap when prey disturbs them. The appendages will rapidly coil up, then snap forward and bend inward to bring the prey into contact with as many stalked glands as is possible. Did you know that sundew plants have been used for medicinal purposes since at least the 12th century? In addition to cough suppressants, the plants have been used to treat sunburn, toothaches, and asthma. Number 5. Monkey cups. These carnivorous tropical pitcher plants get that name because monkeys have been observed drinking rainwater from them. There are around 170 species found from China to Malaysia and from Madagascar to Australia. As their name suggests, pitcher plants have a jug-like appearance and secrete a nectar along the rim which attracts prey. The upper pitcher contains a syrupy fluid that drowns its prey, while the lower portion has glands which extracts nutrients. After prey is lured in by the plant's scent and coloration, it usually slips and falls into the pitcher. Prey typically includes insects, but some species can catch larger victims, as you'll find out in the next segment. Number 4. Adambra's pitcher plant. A large species of tropical pitcher plant native to the Philippines was found growing at the summit of Mount Victoria. When it was described in 2009, it made news for allegedly preying on rats. That claim turned out to be speculation due to the large size of the plant's pitchers. They have a volume exceeding 1.5 litres and traps of more than 2 litres. Because it has no lid, it was thought that an animal the size of a rat could enter the pitcher and drown. But a few years later, it was proven that the plants did indeed trap and prey on vertebrates. In 2012, the remains of a shrew was found in one of these specimens. After the plant's digestive enzymes had done their work, only skeletal remains of the shrew were left. Did you know this species was named after the British broadcaster and naturalist Sir David Attenborough? Number 3. Sarracenia. Not all pitcher plants look like pitcher plants. Here's a genus that comprises up to 11 species that is mostly found from the US into Canada. And while they are carnivorous, these plants appear more like a normal flower species. That's how these North American pitchers can fool their prey. Towards the end of summer, the leaves attract flies by turning a deep purplish red colour. The trap lies within the hollow vertical tubes which have a hood-like structure that covers the entrance. Nectars and scents to attract prey are secreted on top. Once attracted, the slick sides of the tube prevent prey from escaping a pool of water where they will be immobilized and drowned. Did you know that some species are large enough to trap small fish and tadpoles? Number 2. Turtle socks. Following up on Sarracenia, let's look at a plant within that genus which made headlines in 2019. Biologists in Canada discovered that a species commonly called turtle socks not only preyed upon invertebrates like spiders, ants, and insects. These plants also feast on juvenile spotted salamanders. The discovery was made by accident during a field study in Ontario's Algonquin Park. After a researcher saw a small amphibian in the park, a further survey revealed that 1/5 of the carnivorous species in the park had trapped at least one juvenile salamander. It's widely considered to be the first occurrence of North American plants consuming a vertebrate. It's still not known what role salamanders might play in the plant's nutrition, or why the amphibians are lured in to begin with. What do you think? Number 1. Cobra lily. These plants get their common name due to their resemblance to the snake rearing to strike. Along with the serpentine shape of its tubular leaves, the plant also has a forked leaf that looks like a cobra's fangs. Even though it doesn't appear so, these are a species of pitcher plant found in Northern California and Oregon that grow in cold mountain streams. Instead of having traditional pitcher to collect rainwater, cobra lilies absorb water by pumping it from its roots. Insects are trapped by downward pointing hairs and lubricating agents that make it impossible to escape. These plants have translucent false exits that fool the prey into thinking they can make a break for it. Instead, they exhaust themselves and fall into the trap and drown. Experts say these pitcher plants are a rare species, and there's still a lot to be learned about them. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button and click the bell for notifications for our next exciting episode right here on Epic Wildlife.